Hey, it's a drink with Derek, and having a drink with with probably my smartest guest. I'm not going to lie to you. I have Sanjeev Javia here with me. He is the CEO, founder of Javia Wellness Group. You are a health and wellness guru. Your company has developed over 87 dietary supplements sold worldwide. You've got an MBA from Thunderbird School of Global Management, also a biopsychology degree from the University of Michigan. Go Blue.
Go Blue.
And you have 15 years experience formulating nutrition products, and you developed entire lines of supplement products from sports performance to various disease management, stuff for post-chemotherapy. You've worked with some of the world's top athletes. Go ahead and brag. Who have you worked with? I know you worked with Super Bowl MVPs, Stanley Cup champions, World Series Hall of Famers. Go ahead and brag on who you've worked with.
Yeah, I've gotten really fortunate. So, I mean, I've worked with everyone from, Tom Brady to Kurt Warner to Phil Mickelson to, Kurt Schilling, Randy Johnson, Mike Allstott, all this kind of the golfers like Tom Pernice Jr. and
Sure.
Sam Gagal and Suzanne Peterson. So been very fortunate,
You got Tom Brady on your speed dial right now. I know you do because you were roommates with him in Michigan.
I indeed. We all graduated around the same time, actually. So we're all college buddies. So it was great.
That's crazy. I had to celebrate my birthday in the quarantine. So if you had Tom Brady wish me a happy birthday, I wouldn't hate you for it.
Yeah. He was right in the midst of his contract negotiations. I think that's why
during my birthday. That's why he didn't call. I don't need that aggravation. Anyhow, you and I met a number of years ago, working through Longevity, health and wellness company out of Chula Vista, California. And whenever you were on stage and whenever you were talking about nutrition and health and wellness, I mean, what I loved about your presentations is that your stuff was always broken down into the least common denominator for the layperson to understand, and it would sink in, and people would get it because it made sense. And so when all this, and I follow you on social media, your Instagram account, Ask Jeevers, where you answer questions that people put to you. And you had a great video that came out. If people go back and look at it on when this thing first started, when the COVID-19 thing first started. And then you also had a video with a doctor where you're on Facebook Live answering questions and stuff like that. And this thing here got to the point, I normally end up having conversations with comedians and stuff like that. So it's this just finally got to the point for me where I'm like, this needs to be broken down to the public with logic, without a partisanship, and not Democrat, Republican, not, based on opinions. I mean, just based on just legitimate numbers and science. I thought you'd be the perfect person to talk to about this whole thing, just because of your background, and not coming from a traditional MD background, but your studies in naturopathic health and so forth, and your company Pros that you are with right now, where you have put together a number of different formulas driven by CBD and hemp, which is very, very good for you. I mean, of all the stuff, of all the people that you've talked to and all the interviews that you've done, and you said you've done these like almost every day since this pandemic came out. What do people not know about this that they should know?
Yeah, so I think that, and thanks for that intro, and thanks for a lot of those compliments. I appreciate it. I think you set the bar pretty low here as far as like how intelligent.
I set the bar low with my other previous guests.
Exactly.
So you don't have to jump very high.
Exactly.
And you're super athletic. You can jump really high. Don't even stretch for this one.
Well, so I think that, and you're right. So I've like the last month or 2 months, this has been the biggest conversation. And so you see all these kind of doctors and scientists and, nutritionists and naturopaths, and they all have their kind of views, right? And I think that one of the things that you kind of touched on is that, I'm not in anybody's camp. I'm in my camp, right? And my camp is all about not just practical knowledge and practical things on what to do with your health, but just practical sense, right? And also it's like, I'm not here to, sugarcoat anything. I'm not here to create any fear mongering. I'm just here to kind of tell you the truth. Okay. Right. And so I think one of the things that you mentioned is like, okay, so what's something that, gets missed and shouldn't get missed? Here's the thing is that we are so far from being able to eradicate this virus. So you could have done it in the first couple days of actually finding out that this virus actually existed and it was, mutated and now is able to be kind of, put into the, human population or whatever. So those days are long gone. Okay, right? So essentially, you're never going to eradicate this virus. There's no any conversation that says this virus is going to be gone with social distancing or with vaccine or with heat or with whatever. It's a non-issue. It's a myth. Okay, right? It's always going to be around. Now the question is that where is it going to simmer? Is it going to simmer really, really low where, a few people are going to be infected every year or so? Okay, right? Or is it going to simmer really, really high where there's going to be hundreds of thousands of cases, every year or whatever? Okay, right? And this is no different than like the flu, right? The flu is never eradicated, okay, right? And one of the reasons for that is that the flu mutates very quickly. And so people don't realize that the flu vaccine that you're taking is a vaccine for previous strains of the flu. But every year the flu mutates and there's always new strains. Okay, right?
They only say even a flu vaccine is only effective 14% of the time.
Well, that's why, is because it's not that the vaccine isn't potent enough, or it's not that the vaccine, doesn't take. It's the fact that the vaccine is set to vaccinate for, let's just say, 10 different strains.
Okay.
Well, if there's new strains out there, then you're not vaccinated. And so basically, I don't know if you know this, but the World Health Organization and a few other groups basically every year decides which strains that is going to be in the new flu vaccine. Okay. And so then everyone gets the same vaccine for the set of flu strains. And then if there's new strains, then you get the flu again.
Okay. Now, masks, huge controversy. Do the masks work?
Okay, so like first and foremost, the reason why there was a huge controversy in the mask, where the World Health Organization and a few other places were saying, hey, masks don't work, is actually, if you read in the context of what they were saying, is that they weren't really saying exactly that. What they were saying is that we had a very low supply of masks and that we needed to give these masks to first responders, healthcare providers, blah, blah, blah. And so we'd rather I know this is silly, but rather you not have a mask if you're not that group, okay? Which then got turned into the fact that, hey, masks don't really work. Why would you wear them or whatever? So what is the logic? The logic is, of course, masks work in the way that masks work. So what does a mask do? So a mask basically says, okay, you have these virus particles, and one of the ways that, they get out is through coughing and sneezing, if you will. Okay, right? So a mask kind of holds as much of that in as possible when you cough and when you sneeze. Okay, right? So basically, it's, by the way, it holds as much as it possibly can, right? And so whether it's the cloth mask, whether it's the surgical mask, whether it's the N95 mask, each of these masks have certain percentages. That's why it's called N95, okay, right? Is certain percentages of how much of the virus particle, okay, right, will get out if you go cough and you sneeze, okay, right?
So the N95 is that it stops allegedly 95% of the, okay.
Exactly.
What if I take a napkin from like Chili's and wrap it around my face?
So yeah, exactly. Well,
because I see people doing that. I mean, you look like an idiot. I mean, you just look like the worst bank robber ever from the movie Tombstone.
Completely. So you're basically saying, okay, whatever napkin, and I don't know if anyone's done the study, is going to prevent, 1%, let's just say, of the virus particles that gets to, but that's what it is. And so the value of it is that if you have it, because the problem with this virus is that you have such a long incubation period. You have a period in which, literally you're not going to feel anything, to a certain degree, but you have the ability to transmit the virus. Okay. Right. So obviously if you feel something, if you're smart and you're, socially smart, you'll stay home. Okay. Right. But if you don't know, you don't know. So the masks helps me I'm protected from you. And if I wear it, then you're protected from me.
So the mask works both ways, is what you're saying. If I have an N95 mask on, I am protecting myself. If I go out to the store, I'm protecting myself from incoming particles. And then also by the same token, if I have COVID-19, if I'm coughing or sneezing, I'm protecting others as well.
Yeah. Okay. This is a great point, is that, really when you're wearing your mask, you're protecting others from one of the more powerful ways that you can transmit the virus, which is through the mouth and through the nose. Okay. Right. So you're protecting everybody else. Okay. Right. Now, the reverse though, is that how am I protected? Well, yeah, you're right. I'm protected because I have a mask on. And so therefore the virus particles, wherever they are, because do remember these virus particles can literally hang in the air for 2 to 3 hours. Okay. Right. So I'm protected from breathing them in, but that doesn't mean that they can't get in through my eye, doesn't mean that they can't get in through my ear. The one of the things, and I know this is disgusting, but it's true, is that, there's a lot of cases, or a lot of, there's virus particles in feces. Okay. Right. And so, you go to the public bathroom and someone goes to the bathroom, and do remember these public bathrooms, there's not very many of them that have the cover on the top. Okay. Right. So basically here you are, you go in there and you flush the toilet, and somebody before you had the virus. Okay. Right. And so you could essentially catch it from that thing. Okay. Do you see
what I'm saying? Catch it from poop vapor? Is that what you're telling me?
Very much so. Exactly.
Okay. So literally the mask is only saying, to break it down to that.
Yeah.
To that level. Sorry, everybody, if you're having lunch, enjoy.
Yeah.
So literally the mask is only stopping one avenue. So
Think
it can
about
still
it.
come through your ears, your eyes, everything else. Okay.
Yeah, it's doing here. And it's not, and so therefore anything outside of the mask that has the ability to get into the body is not protected. That's why my sister's a dentist. Okay. Right. So her office has now opened. So what is she wearing? She's wearing a full shield.
Right.
Okay. Right. Because now she's got eye protection. She has ear protection. She has nose and mouth protection,
Now, is that something where masks are people going to be freaking out and saying, well, okay, I should wear a mask all the time until I die? I mean, because there's always going to be, I'm assuming this COVID-19 virus is always going to be with us, like you're saying. So is there going to be a time when they're going to say, you know what? Don't worry about your mask. Take it off. You're fine.
No, here's the question. Okay. Right. Logic would say, as long as the virus is around. Okay. Right. Yeah. And as long as there's no vaccine, in theory, you would, if you want to be 100% protecting yourself and doing everything that you possibly can to protect yourself, well, the first thing you would do is you just not leave the house. I mean, let's be honest, okay, right?
True.
And then anything more than that, okay, less than that or whatever, you would then say, okay, listen, I guess I'm going to wear a mask forever, okay, or until there's a vaccine. But that is that's the same conversation that you could have if you said, oh, listen, you know what? I want to protect myself as much as I possibly can from the flu. Okay, well then essentially you could just wear a mask, you know, as well. It's not about the only reason why you're doing it more with this is because of two reasons. Number one, this particular virus is more fatal for certain groups than the flu. Okay, right? And then secondly, there's no vaccine, so there's no kind of protection for you that you could have before something like this kind of happens. That's why you're taking those cautions, you know?
Right. Now, since this thing is so contagious, if we haven't gotten it by now, I mean, it's been here in the States now for a few months. And if we haven't gotten it by now, did we either have it earlier or are we immune?
So this has been in the US since at least December of last year. Okay.
Because I know a bunch of people here in Vegas that keep talking about when they started listing the symptoms, and I didn't mean to cut you off, I'm sorry, but they were talking about like there's a monster consumer electronics show here in Las Vegas that's in January that draws in people from around the world. A lot of people from Japan, China, you know, and the Far East. And I know a lot of people here in town that were saying, I swear I had this thing back in January. These symptoms were hitting me at that time. Now, I mean, I felt, you know, I always end up getting some kind of a little flu bug or whatever here in Vegas in December and January. But I haven't felt anything, and I've been around. I don't wear a mask. It's just my own thing. You know, I walk up and down Vegas and touch handrails on the strip. I mean, you know, I'd be lucky if I only caught COVID-19 from touching some of the stuff in Vegas that I've touched. But seriously, you know, if it, if you said it's been here since at least December. So continuing with your thought, I mean, if we haven't gotten it by now, did we have it already or are we immune?
Yeah. And so yes, everyone believes, or a lot of people believe it's been here since December. And because the first reported cases were in January. And so, therefore, if you look and you just kind of look back and say, okay, listen, if a case was reported, meaning someone had the symptoms and the incubation period was 14 days, then that would make it so that it would fall into December. Okay, right? So, and then the second thing you mentioned is, you know, do we already have it? Well, there's only one study that I know of that's done any kind of work in this area. And there was a study, and I was just talking about it today in Santa Clara. And so they basically took like 3,000 plus volunteers from different kind of socioeconomic status, different ethnic groups, you know, areas and such. And they gave them the antibody test. And they found that about 20% of them actually had the antibody. Okay, right? So what that would mean is that 20% of the population, and by the way, all of these 3,000 individuals, they did not go see a doctor. They did not perceive themselves as having any symptoms of COVID-19. They didn't feel any significant kind of health issue, you know, right? And so basically they found that 20% of them had the antibody. That would mean that, okay, 20% of them were walking around. We were all 20% were walking around with COVID-19, but we did not have enough symptom to feel like it was significantly different than anything else that we've ever felt, specifically a flu or a cold or whatever. Okay, right? And so, yeah, and so let's take that data and extrapolate it out. Then that would mean that, yeah, okay, 20% of the country, you know, had it and they didn't know it and they carry the antibody for it.
Right. Now, as the country's starting to open back up right now, did the stay-at-home order make any sense at all?
Yeah, so I think here's the deal, right? Is that that question, and a lot of people ask that question, it doesn't have an answer except for what actually happened. Okay, right?
Right.
Because you don't have another time in which they're in the US with this population, with this group, all that sort of stuff, that they didn't stay at home. Okay, right? And so did it make any difference? You again don't actually know, but then you would have to use logic. Okay, right? And so logic would say, listen, if you had 20% of the population, let's just take that thing, that had the virus and didn't know that they had the virus, and they were walking around, touching hands, seeing people, doing all that sort of stuff. If you didn't have the stay-at-home order, that would mean that, okay, 20% would have been out there, and there would be more of a transmission of this disease, and there would have been more fatalities, and there would have been more, because you just have to like I said, extrapolate the number, okay, right? Because that's the only number that you have. And so it's really difficult to say that would it have made a difference or not in would we arrive at the same numbers as we have right now. To me, it'd be very difficult to think that you wouldn't have had a larger increase in incidences because you left the house, and 20% of people would have left the house and transmitted the disease.
What about herd immunity? They talk about that all the time, and it seems to be dismissed whenever I see it brought up in a news conference or an interview. For example, the country of Sweden. I mean, they basically took minimal measures, as I understand, and just said as a rule, you know what? If you're sick, stay at home. Don't be a tool bag. Don't come out here and sneeze and cough and lick people. And stay home and don't cause problems. And Sweden seems to be doing pretty good.
Yeah. And so I've been following Sweden, right, and what was happening. And there was just a recent article that just came out that showed that Sweden per 100,000, so per capita, is number 4 on the list for mortalities. Okay, right. And so sure, they're behind Italy, and they're behind a few other places, but there's also a bunch of other groups that they're not behind, right? And so is it really working? I don't know if it's really working. Okay, right. But here is the thing, though, is that one thing people are forgetting with Sweden in the United States is the population in Sweden looks very different than the population in the United States. They don't have the percentages of individuals who have diabetes, who have heart disease, who are eating the standard American diet and are immune compromised. You're basically saying, because that was the argument. The argument was, hey, well, US should have done the same thing. Well, US didn't have the same population as what Sweden had. Essentially, they're a healthier population. They have less potential to have, fatality if all of a sudden they did get the virus. Their healthcare system is set up differently. And do remember is that the biggest reason why we did the stay at home, and I'm not trying to champion stay at home. I'm not trying to champion any of that sort of stuff.
No,
I'm just trying to tell you, okay, right? The reason why the masks and the stay at home and the social distancing or whatever was the main thing was if this got unmanageable, our healthcare system did not have the ability to manage the influx of what could be. And because of that, you would have had, and that's why the conversation of ventilators came up. That's why the conversation of health is that, one of the things is that we were doing it because it was like I did that post the other day or whatever. I said, listen, the question isn't whether you're going to get it or not. You're going to get it. We're all going to get it. Okay. Right. The question is we just, the issue is we don't want you to all get it on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Because if you get it on Tuesday, then you cripple everything.
Right.
So the fact is you will get it. Now it's just that can you get it in a manageable rate with our healthcare system? And so that's the thing with Sweden, is that to a certain extent, if it did get not totally unmanageable, but if it hit some higher limits, they had a healthcare system that could manage it to a certain degree based on the population and all that sort of stuff. So it's
that makes more sense. So statistically, I didn't know that Sweden had that many deaths involved with this per 100,000 people. So
I didn't know that either.
Wow.
And the article just came out this weekend, New York Times, and I was like, oh wow,
Wow. Now, does social distancing matter?
Well, social distancing matters because, like I said, is that anything that you can do to prevent the opportunity to get transmission of the virus matters. Right. Okay, right? And so one of the ways is that these virus particles do have the ability to travel a certain distance if someone sneezes. Okay, right? And it's 6 to 10 feet, let's just say. Problem with that, do remember, is that if you're in this closed room like I am and I sneeze, it can hang out in this room for a couple hours. Okay, sure. Right? Okay, right? And so, but if you're outside, it's going to dissipate a lot faster and things like that, right? And so, yeah, of course it matters. How much it matters, you don't know. Sure. Because you can't really do the study of like that. You know what I mean?
No, exactly. I mean, I'll be honest. I went to a restaurant the other night with my girlfriend, and it was actually, it was weird, having these tables spaced in between, but it was kind of cool not having some idiot right on top of me, yelling and acting like a moron. So I'm like, oh, this is kind of relaxing. I'm like, oh, this is cool. And one of the things that you mentioned in one of the videos that I saw that you did, and I tell people this all the time, and is the virus is only as strong as the host is weak. And that resonated with me with more than anything that you've that you've said. Not more than everything, but
Yeah, this is but
it's true. I mean, if you're weak, you're more susceptible to it. What can the layperson do or take for themselves just to be a stronger host and not be susceptible to the virus? Is there any type of foods or vitamins or supplements that they should be taking?
Yeah, this is a great point. And the reason why I keep talking about this is that it's not the virus, but it's the health of the host, right? Or the strength of the host, as you mentioned, is because, listen, at the very end of the day, this isn't going to be the first one and it ain't going to be the last one. And so your body has the ability, and it has had the ability for thousands and thousands of years, to deal with bacteria, to deal with pathogen, to deal with virus. It's created a system called the immune system to deal with it. Okay, right? Now, the question is how strong is your immune system? Okay, right? And that is factored on how well you've treated yourself nutritionally, from a lifestyle standpoint, from a mindset standpoint, a stress standpoint, all that sort of stuff, right? And so your question of like, well, what can you do? Well, it's the same things that you should have been doing. Okay, right? And so you should have been being really well hydrated. You should have been, moving around and circulating and exercising. You should have been eating really healthy, or as healthy as you possibly can, meaning eat more of a plant-based diet and eating a lot of foods that were nutrient dense rather than calorie dense. Okay, right? You should have been, getting out in the sun, because, you can activate, like, as we always, the biggest thing that they're talking about is vitamin D and things like that. Okay, right? And so I mean, those are things that, so let me answer your question like super directly here. Okay, right? So there's a lot of free things that you can do. And the free things that you can do is you can really look. And by the way, all of these things, they relate to how you can strengthen or uncompromise your immune system. Okay, right? So they all deal with that. So number one, it's like, okay, getting out in the sun, okay, right, is really, really big, because it just so happens that getting out in the sun for the appropriate amount of time can activate probably one of the most powerful nutrients you can do in the body, which is vitamin D, okay, right? And there's been just study after study about the value of vitamin D and the value, okay, right? Secondly, is that you can move around and exercise, okay, right? And moving around, not just, it's not about exercise, it's moving around. It's actually circulating that blood flow, okay, right? Next is that you can get fresh air, okay, right? These are all like really simple things, but literally they're incredibly important things, okay, right? Next is that you get rid of the stresses in your life, okay, right? Or minimize them, whether they be people, whether they be work, whether they be, you know, negative things in your life. I mean, there's nothing that is going to be stronger that I can tell you from a food base or a nutrient base or a movement base that's stronger than the psychological things that you can do for your body. Okay, right? If that makes sense. You know what I mean?
So you're saying eat more spinach and get rid of your kids.
You can, exactly.
Okay.
Two very powerful things for some families.
Two very powerful things.
Yeah. On the nutrition aspect, just get rid of things that you know are highly or that are burdening to the body, which is things like sugar, which is things like processed foods, things like excess carbohydrates, you know, fried foods. You know, these are just things you knew, guys. You knew this before. You just didn't really have a reason to do it, because nothing out there could kind of kill you if you weren't doing this sort of stuff, unless it was long term. Well, now you're actually kind of sitting in that position, okay, right? And then as far as like specific nutrients, you know, right, I believe that the strongest things that you can do is, you know, the well-documented and well-researched ones are vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin D, probiotics, because your gut is it's a very powerful thing for your immune system, okay, right? And then if you want to get kind of on the fringe of some things that have shown to be very powerful and great, they're not as common, is N-acetylcysteine has been shown, NAC, quercetin, Quercitn, has shown very powerful. They actually use quercetin in China as something to help to combat SARS-CoV-2. And then I think those, right. And then you can get into this whole other aspect of stuff. But I honestly think, you know, everyone's got budgets. We got to like look at that, you know?
No, yeah, because everybody would like to go ahead and shop online and get some of the, you know, some of these fantastic, you know, vitamins, plant-based minerals, whatever it is, whether people shop at Whole Foods or Sprouts or whatever, and they're getting all these different vitamins. I mean, yeah, you'd like, in a perfect world, you'd like to be able to get all that really, really good stuff. But the reality is you've got a lot of people, especially now with people without jobs, that are trying to find the most cost-effective way for themselves to, you know, heal themselves, or at least be, like you said, the strongest host possible during this whole thing. Where does whiskey fall on that?
Whiskey,
that's going to really determine how long I'm going to live. So
actually, whiskey probably, you know, to a certain degree. Hey, man, anything that, well, everything in moderation. But one of the things is de-stress. And if you need a little shot of whiskey to de-stress, take a shot. In my opinion, take a shot of whiskey.
You're a Bushmills drinker. I'm more of a Jameson guy. You're a little more of the Protestant whiskey. I'm a little more of the Catholic. But so good. We're insanely healthy. Now? Here's the thing too. Somebody brought this up, and it was a great conversation. I was literally standing in line at the DMV last week, talking to this guy, and we were talking about the people wearing the masks and how you can just almost sense like a level of fear with some of these people, like when you kind of come even within close to that 6 foot range, you kind of see them kind of back up a little bit because of so much propaganda. I mean, all this negative information coming at them on television, this doom and gloom forecast, at least from what I see when I watch the news. I'm like, oh God, I can't watch this anymore. But some people are still panicked about this and freaking out. masks the whole shot. And I know obviously you said masks help. Like I said, I'm not a mask person, but I can't imagine that level of, the guy said to me in line, he goes, I can't imagine what it's like being in that person's body and being so scared.
Buddy.
Is there a way, is there something that anybody can do to help kind of reprogram their mind where this isn't the death and doom forecast that a lot of the media tries to shove in our face?
Well, I mean, here's the thing, dude. You want the truth? Depending on who you are, it might be doom and gloom.
No.
I mean, think about it. What do you want me to like sugar? You want me to flour this thing up? And let me tell you something, okay, right? My dad's 80 years old, okay, right? He's 80 years old, and he's
going to live to be 170, by the way. You realize that?
Oh, what's that, buddy?
Your dad's going to be 170 years old. He is going to live forever. Your dad cracks me up.
I know, buddy. He is the top echelon of 80 because of a lot of the things that he does, meaning, you know, he grows his own food. He eats really healthy. He eats hugely plant-based diet. He laughs all the time. He's a very joyous guy. You know, that's probably the most important thing, you know, right? He moves around. He does everything in mind, you know, blah, blah, blah. But there was this huge study that was done on 17 million. So it was a worldwide study. And it showed that, you know, those individuals with the highest mortality rates, it kind of ranked them. Okay. Right. You know that an individual that's 80 years old. Now, this is the standard 80-year-old, but it's a standard 80-year-old. Okay. Right. If you get the virus, you have a greater chance of dying than someone who has had organ failure before.
Right.
So the reason why I'm telling you all this is that, listen, the best thing to take away your stress in this situation is to do everything that you possibly can so that if something does happen, that you're in the best possible chance of, you know, fighting this thing and dealing with it. And so when you ask me that question, I say to yourself, well, you know what? If you're eating like crap still, if you were, you know, are not doing any of this sort of stuff, and you're not social distancing, you're not doing, do you think you want me to give you a fucking pep talk or a cheerleading talk right now about why you shouldn't be stressed? No, I'm not the dude. I'm going to say you should be stressed because you're not doing anything about it. So what I would do to not be stressed is I would say to myself, okay, what are all of the things that I can do about this situation? And I'm going to do them. And I'm glad that you mentioned that stuff about, you know, supplements and this and that. You know, the most powerful things you can do, like I said, you do not have to buy. You do not have to buy fresh air. You do not have to buy sun. You do not have to buy getting rid of, you know, for friends and family and whoever that are causing you stress. You do not have to buy in saying, okay, listen, I'm going to do less because it's going to help me. You do not have to buy moving around. So that's what being hygienic, don't touching your face, washing your hands. You know, you can do all that sort of stuff and it can be incredibly powerful, you know, right?
No, absolutely. I mean, you're almost like that, those TV shows where they bring like the at-risk youth into a supermax prison facility and you're in for 50 years for like murdering a family. And you're like, you want me to tell you that murder's fun? Murder's not fun. My cellmate in here is trying to make out with me at every possible moment. This is not fun. I messed up. Take your vitamins.
You're exactly right.
It is. It's always like
this is free food, but this free food just sucks. It's old.
Now, you were talking about going out and moving and exercising. And one of the things that you had done, or that you mentioned in your videos, was exercise, but don't work out too hard.
You're exactly
right. A lot of people out there, you know, where they're stuck at home and they're out running, they're out cycling, whatever. I mean, how far should people go? I mean, I guess it goes back to your own level of health and wellness. But I mean, how intense should should people be with their activities?
Yeah, great point. So that was, right when all of this happened and everyone had to move their gym to their home or the park or
Hmm.
whatever, they were thinking to themselves, okay, I'm going to work out just as intense as I was before this whole situation, or even more. They were saying to themselves, oh, I got more time. So I'm going to actually work out in the morning. I'm going to do my road biking at night. I'm going to do all, and, and every one of us that were in the know, we're like, did we just not tell you to not do anything to compromise your immune system because you will be more vulnerable to this attack? So
Right.
guess what? Exercise and this activity is compromising your immune system.
Yeah.
So why would you be doing that? Why? Everybody's in this, intermittent fasting and all that sort of stuff. All of the people that are like fasting gurus and stuff, we were like, dude, don't fast right now. You may want to keep that nutrient density because I think you'll save that for when it's all over. I mean, people were, oh, hey, I'm going to lose weight. You don't lose weight, but let's do this afterwards. Like the things that you don't want to do anything to severely compromise your immune system. And like you said, activity and exercise is one of those things. Okay, right? And so, hey, listen, me, I'm huge in activity. I have not missed a workout since any of this happened. If anything, I've gotten better at my workouts and more consistent with my workouts.
Right.
But Derek, I am not increasing significantly my volume of workout. I'm not increasing significantly my intensity of my workout. I've switched from a lot of cardio things, even though I'm not even a fan of cardio anymore, cardio to resistance-based exercises. I take a lot more rest in between, my workouts and my sets and stuff. Oh yeah, buddy, I'm not overly taxing anything. Like, why would I do that?
Now, here's something too. One of the things that they are proposing, everywhere, is just more of these hand sanitizer stations. Does that hand sanitizing, does the constant sanitizing make a difference? Or is that also something that goes back to where if you live in a sterile environment, your immune system, you don't have the natural bacteria that your body needs in order to fight stuff off. So if you're constantly with the sanitizer, I mean, and I do it. I keep hand sanitizer in my car because, again, I'm out with the public and I'm, doing stuff like that. Is that helping me in the long run or is that hurting?
Okay, so buddy, in the long run, it has never been healthy. Okay, right? Okay. And so, yeah, you're exactly right. Hand sanitizers were like, I mean, before all of this, if somebody came to me with hand sanitizer, I'm like, don't give me that hand sanitizer. Like I wouldn't, these moms cleaning everything. Hey, I know that this is a whole separate discussion, but that's one of the biggest reasons why you see so many kids with so many allergies, and we always talk about, this peanut allergy and stuff. When we were kids, everybody was eating peanut butter. Jif was like the thing that we were, right? And so, yeah, from a long-term status, Derek, I don't believe that sanitizing is a healthy thing for your body because simply let's look at logic, okay? Logic is the body doesn't grow, nothing grows without stress. So therefore, a muscle doesn't grow without stressing it, right? Well, your immune system is the same way. It doesn't grow unless you stress it. And it has the ability to, blah, 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 right? Well, but now during this time, what's going on is that, yeah, the hand sanitizers can be valuable because of the fact that, right now you've got this virus and you don't have a vaccine. You may not be, in a situation where you'll be, your body, that's why they call it a novel coronavirus. Novel is new, meaning that the body's never seen it before. With some of those other flu viruses that we were talking about before, remember the flu vaccine or whatever? Sure. Parts of those new strains, the body is actually seen. So it's not necessarily like, oh, I don't know how to deal with this in any way. You know what I mean? Right. This is the body like literally is saying, I've never seen anything like this before. And so I don't even know how to deal with it. That's why sanitizing it right now is important. I'm not saying, in the future, it's a great thing for you, if that makes sense.
Right. No, that makes complete sense. Now, again, as we going through this and you talk about the, where they say there's nothing to measure this thing against because we haven't had to deal with this before, but we were talking even before the interview that we did have to deal with this. This was back in 1918 you said?
Yeah, 1918. I mean, the Spanish flu. Yeah. The Spanish flu is a wonderful way of, modeling what's happening right now.
And for people that don't know, we were shoved in. We were told it was like, stay inside, don't do anything. Correct?
Buddy, we're not doing anything different than what we did in 1918. So and so some of them is a bit scary, like literally, in 1918, just like people were like, oh, it's just the flu. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine, right? And it wasn't the case. And there was all of this there was fake news too, that said that, hey, listen, you know what? Yeah, you'll be okay. All of these protective measures, it's just it's just procedural. Don't worry about it, right? I mean, businesses collapsed, all that, the same stuff happened,
Right.
And one of the things that they talk about, obviously, is the fact of will they shut down the country and then they opened it back up again. Okay. Right. Now, some places in 1918 had they shut it down, they opened it up and then they shut it down again. And then they had it open up. They did it. Some places did it 3 times. Okay, right? They talk about like we were talking about San Antonio, where literally it was one of the cities that shut down late and opened up early, and they paid.
This was back in 1918.
Back in 1918.
Okay.
And they paid the consequences for it, where like 90% of the families had one person that had the Spanish flu. And there was gigantic mortality rates in San Antonio. It was crippling, you know what I mean? Right. And so they're always like, hey man, that's the question right now is that, okay, so are we opening up too early? Or, what's the thing? We don't know. Hey, in about 30 or 60 days, when everybody gets out there, you're going to figure out whether this was a good idea or not.
Right.
I mean, that's the truth.
Now, they keep talking about a vaccine. I've never had a flu shot. I don't believe in them. It's just my own personal thing. People are all into that stuff. If a vaccine comes out for this, do you recommend somebody get it or just continue to try to be the strongest host possible and not make yourself susceptible to falling prey to an illness? Yeah.
So my answer to that is it depends on who you are. So here's the thing. Generally I wouldn't take any first run at a vaccine. Okay. Right. And so I've got a good friend, Dr. Aras Sapaya. And so he was telling me about the history of vaccines, and the first vaccine never works all that great. Okay. Right. Whether it's effectiveness or whether it's some of the side effects. And so you don't want to get the first shot. Okay. Right. So for me, let's take 2 cases, make it super simple. Okay. Right.
Okay.
Me and my dad. Okay. Right. So I will not be getting the vaccine. But the reason why I will not be getting the vaccine is because of the fact that I feel that I've got a very strong foundation so that when I do get SARS-CoV-2, because I will get SARS-CoV-2, okay, right? Maybe I've already had it, I don't know, okay, right?
SARS-CoV-2 is what? Now what? That's another strain of this?
Exactly. Do we remember the SARS-CoV-2 is the virus, COVID-19 is the disease.
Got it. Okay.
It's kind of like HIV and AIDS, you know what I mean, right? HIV is the virus, AIDS is the actual disease or whatever. Okay, right? And so I will be silly. Everyone is going to get at some point the virus. Okay, right? And I feel like I'm foundationally strong to deal with that virus. Okay, right?
Right.
Dad, on the other hand, he's 80 years old. He's going to be susceptible. So even though there's going to be, some question in the potency of the vaccine, question in the side effects of the vaccine, he would be smart to get it.
Right.
So dude, that's how I look at it.
I can't thank you enough, man. This really breaks it down, like I said, to the least common denominator, like all the presentations that I've seen you do. And it just makes it as easy for the layperson to understand it and digest it without all the scientific speak and the graphs and charts from the little mousy guy Fauci to the scarf lady, and standing up there at the White House and showing here's where the curves flattened and here's where it got bigger and here's where it got smaller. It's like, I'm done with this. I need some normalcy, for God's sakes.
Yeah, buddy.
I've gotten to the point now for me, I'm like, you know what? If I go out and I catch it and something happens, I think a lot of people are taking that attitude. They're like, you know what? I'm done. This is not living.
Oh yeah, buddy. I mean, here's the thing. The natives are restless. Okay. Right. And so that's what's happened is that, the natives are restless. And so it is, we can't do this anymore. Okay. Right. And we can't do this anymore because of one really biggest thing. And this is what, guys, this is what drives everything in the world. And it is what it is. Okay. Right. It is the economics. Mm-hmm. Economics drives everything. This is why we don't go and fight, certain wars in certain countries that are having genocides, and we fight other wars that have no genocide, but just like some political or capitalistic ambition. Everything is driven by the economy. And this whole opening up of everything, understandably too, listen, okay, right? Is that, listen, you'd only have so much money. How much stimulus are you going to give the people, right? And so therefore, you got to open up this place. And now the question just becomes like, okay, how much is it going to cost us? And nobody really knows that. And I believe that it costs us all individually different. Each of us will have a cost. We can't look at it as, and that's probably what frustrates you and others, is because everything that they're talking about from a generalized standpoint. Is that, hey, listen, we all got to do this. We all got to do that. We all got, and the thing is that now we don't all got to do that because we're all in different positions, right? If that makes sense. And so
that makes the most sense right there. It goes back to, like you said, the people that who are compromised, who have diabetes, who are scared to death. And like you said, may have a legitimate reason to be scared to death about catching this, and other people who feel stronger about themselves, are happy with what they're doing in terms of helping their own body and being the strongest person they can be to fight this off. They feel confident going, look, just let me get out. Let me do my stuff. Let me live my life. Let me, be, who I want to be. So, but dude, you're awesome. Tell your company and your website and what people can find there. And
Yeah, awesome. Well, so I'm a formulator of nutritional supplements. That's why Derek and I know each other, and I've been formulating for quite some time. And so I just formulated my own line of products that are called Pros, P-R-O-Z-E. This is what
P-R-O-Z-E. We'll have the
logo looks like and everything. Kind of cool.
There you go.
Right? And if you're into, CBD and hemp and the value of CBD and hemp, which, like Derek said, has an incredible kind of health value, I developed some formulations that focus on sleep and pain and anxiety and some of the things that, nervousness and such like that, mental health and focus and clarity. And they're really unique because I use a lot of different types of nutrients outside of just CBD. And you can check out our website. We have an awesome kind of promotion going on. Right when all this came down, Derek, we were fortunate because we are in a fortunate situation, but also we just wanted to kind of do something for those, like you mentioned, one, that were super stressed out and worried, and we knew that our products could help them. And then secondly is that we wanted to be able to, offer something to a lot of groups that, needed it, like first responders and cancer patients and diabetic patients and things like that. So we have a Together We Win initiative and campaign. So all these discounts and promotions and stuff. And if you use D Richards, we're going to do that as well too. And so we'll have a special promotion just for all of you guys as well. But if you're in this space, if you love these types of products or ever thought about it, I'd love for you to check it out, because we went to the nth degree as far as testing and science, and then developed some effective formulations. So
no, your website's fantastic, and it goes into a lot of detail about what the products are, what they're about, what's inside of them. And like I tell anybody, I go try it. I mean, that's the best thing you can do for yourself, is just go ahead and see if, try something, see if it works. And then if it, if you like it, then keep getting it. So we'll have a link at the, on the social media stuff. But is there so when they go through and they want to purchase an item where it says promo code, they just type in D Richards? Is that the deal then? And they get like a percentage off on this? What's the, do you get a puppy? What happens? What do you get?
Exactly. So actually you'll get 15% off on all of our products. And then actually we have some promotional products that are 30% off, our sets.
Oh, nice.
These cool sets. And then yeah, you can do that promo code, but the easiest way is, like you mentioned, we'll actually just, on this post, you'll see a link. Just click on the link, then you won't have to even worry about the thing. You'll just go straight to the promo code, if you will.
Sanjeev, you're awesome, man. I'll be waiting for that call from Mr. Brady, TB12.
I will make sure. I think he's got a big golf.
He's now in Tampa now, so he's got sunshine, and so there's apparently no COVID in Tampa. He's fine, isn't he?
Yeah,
one of the healthiest guys on the planet.
Yeah. He's in a better space in the country for that sort of stuff, So
no doubt. No, man, I can't thank you enough. I wish you nothing but success, and great seeing you. And tell your old man I said hi.
I will. Thank you so much.
He's awesome, man. Great guy. Like I said, he's gonna live to be 170 years old. He's gonna outlive everybody on this planet.
He will. He looks like he's going in that direction. So it's awesome.
He is too funny, man. Again, you're awesome. Again, I can't thank you enough for doing this. Appreciate it.
Oh, no worries at all. It's an honor. Thank you so much, Eric. Appreciate it.